Hello YouTube, this is Nite Misfortune bringing you yet another replay from the game of Supreme Commander 2. Of course, this is the SCS Serpents Open. Well, not Serpents Open, it's the Serpents League Season 2. This is, I believe, round 11? Might be not right, but it will be at the top as always. But it is one of the final rounds, so be sure to stick around until the end of the video. As always, I will be talking about the league table, and of course you will know who won and who, did well in this league. But in this replay, I have an interesting match to show you. I didn't really have good ones in the past several weeks, and I was actually waiting for a new piece of equipment to try out. So, this is what I'm trying out, so hopefully you guys can tell the difference a little bit, maybe. Just let me know down in the description below, and or comments below, I guess. Alright, well, let's go ahead and jump into this game. This is a match between Vanady and Jaywix on, of course, Treallach Island. Treallach Island is fairly well familiar to us, especially after we removed Iskillian Coast from the map pool. I think it was picked quite a bit, so we see that it was picked about 42% of the time, banned 22% of the time, and a fairly evenish spread of picks, but mostly Aeon, of course, and we see why because of that just ridiculous Aeon win percentage. So of course, there's several things on this map that give it an advantage to Aeon. Of course, those rock formations as well as the water really make it easy for the Aeon to teleport around and wreak havoc. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. And let's see, I don't remember what their factions are, so I'm going to actually have to check. So pause at 5 seconds, game speed 2. Let's go ahead and play in 3, 2, 1, go. And let's introduce our player, starting with the player on the bottom right. We have our orange Aeon commander, OSS Jaywix, spawning in, who has a pretty decent win rate, not the best, 42 roughly %, starting off with 2 land factories. So going to be most likely going for a push as we see those waypoints already queued up forward towards Vanady's base. And our opponent, Vanady, also going Aeon. So we have an Aeon mirror, eliminating any kind of faction bias. We have our teal Aeon commander, AA Vanady, who has a pretty also decent win rate. Starting off with 1 air factory on this map is never a bad idea. And building up some eco things and expanding forward. So fairly good starts from both players. We see actually Jaywix going for that 3rd factory, pushing out with tanks, looks like. Vanady gets the scout off, the importance of scouting here, very important. And plops down a land factory right away. I'm not sure I'm a fan of these super early energy generators. Of course, you don't really need them that quickly, but who knows? It works. Later on, it will save you some time, and it's always better to get them early than forget them. Nice target firing on the fish tooth here. There are Harvogs also coming out for that eventual anti-air upgrade. And by the looks of it, it does not look like Jaywix saved his research points. So not sure what he teched. Probably build cost, build time, judging by the speed at which he expanded off this 3 base. I don't want to call it all in anymore. It's pretty much the main now. We see a nice spread of units here. Vanady realizes this and decides to go for a nicely clumped tank, but Jaywix does a good enough job splitting them right at the last second and preventing a good amount of damage and even healing his units. Jaywix doing pretty well, and there's that anti-air upgrade on the Harvogs, and that will force Vanady to retreat onto that hill, and he's going to probably retreat back to his base. Nope, going up for another run. You're not targeting down the fish too, so that's probably a good idea. Buying himself as much time as he can to get some of the defensive tanks. Of course, the defender's advantage with 2 factories pretty much equals out, I want to say, the attacker's 3 factory. And especially because there's Harvogs coming in, Vanady is going to be okay here. He did a very nice job spamming out quite a bit of tanks, and he's done a good job expanding, although both of his engineers are back here in the base building some upgrades. There's a shield being thrown out as well as the radar. Nice saving of resources or utilization of resources by Vanady. Let's see the micro here from our 2 players. So far, just ACUs and 1 tank shot. MML fire starting to fire on those ground units, actually hitting a tank. That's not something you always want to see. And now, of course, after this initial push kind of failed, I'm favoring Vanady's place here. Of course, those tanks, like I mentioned, are going to be far better than the Harvogs, which he still must make. Although, if he put down a radar, he would see that there isn't as many air units because Vanady most likely has stopped their production. And there isn't really a follow-up here off that 3rd base. It's really important to either do enough damage. There's a 4th land factory coming up, which is, I guess, fairly surprising. But it's the 5th minute, so who knows. It's fairly surprising that he's able to squeeze out this much, but he hasn't been really building anything. So, gonna try and make something work with these MMLs. Of course, Vanady can't quite push out. There's still quite a bit of units and upgrades that are uncertain. Well, actually, no, he does know that those Harvogs do have anti-air, so there's probably not much stars into them. So let's see what we're doing here. It looks like Vanady's tanks are pretty much stock, and Jaywix's tanks are stock, so nobody's going training or health at least. So that means nobody's going towards shields yet. I'm wondering what Vanady is teching. There's 3 land factories for Vanady now. Of course, he does have that 1 more mass extractor right here, which is forcing his opponent, the lack of which is forcing his opponent to pause his production. Not sure what he's saving for. I think this is a way too long of a pause here. So probably a miss micro because there's really nothing that he's saving for. Unless he's trying to build PDs, but there hasn't been any missile launchers. There are missile launchers, but they're static missile launchers. And at the end of the day, they're not that important, I want to say. So yeah, there we go. Now we're utilizing those missile launchers. And there's a 4th land factory coming out for Vanady, and he's resuming his air production. So things are looking very, very good for him. I'm going to speed it up to 3 here, as there is going to most likely be an engagement here pretty soon. Vanady decides to move out. Nice clump by Jaywix. Has to be careful of these planes coming in. Nice bombing run, targeting down some of those mobile missile launchers. Very good target fire, and those tanks are going ham on these Harvogs here. Not doing a good job getting under the shield, but you can just see how much stronger those tanks are. And we have, yeah, a couple of upgrades on those tanks. Meanwhile, yeah, probably 2, maybe even 3 stars. But only 1 star for Jaywix here as another bombing run coming in on those clump units. Vanady getting his ACU forward, and this is looking dire for Jaywix. Even with that point defense here, he's going to be... Oh, nice. Shield comes back right at the last second because it's going to force Vanady back for the time being. But now Vanady is on the offensive, making those mobile missile launchers. Going to be doing quite a bit of damage here to Jaywix. That point defense is really not well positioned. It's under the shield, but it's not really forward, which is not really going to help him other than preventing that initial push out. Now, all that Vanady has to do is wait for those mobile missile launchers to do that. Jaywix recognizes this and pushes out with his forces. Unfortunately, there's still just way too many Harvogs. A bombing run coming in, taking out a fair amount of Harvogs. And Vanady pushes back Jaywix. Jaywix should not be really reclaiming or repairing that point defense. There's going to be an engagement here as Jaywix's forces continue to dwindle, and we see he is in full retreat at this point, and that air is going to bombard him all the way back, trying to scramble and get some mass extractors, but it's a little bit too late at this point, as Vanady is also going to be doing the same. The difference is that he can reclaim all this juicy mass. That is going to help him do so very, very quickly, and he does still have that 4 factory production queue. I don't know what these 2 tanks are doing over here. Nicely clumped up also. Well, actually not clumped enough. And Jaywix is going to try and set up a choke point here and try to... This is definitely a wrong choice here when you're in full retreat. There really isn't a point in building a mass extractor. You might as well just save some money and build another land factory or even a point defense. This is just a waste of resources at this point. especially with those MMLs coming in and all these planes around here. And it looks like there was actually some energy issues for Jaywix as well. He's trying to plop those out, or maybe he's going for teleport. Now, unfortunately, at this point, you can't really go teleport because you're behind. So he does have to at least put some research into his tanks training. As we can see, Vanady is already probably at 4 stars, is what I'm guessing. I really need to take a look at those spreads. Doing a nice job expanding off of this. Just absolutely wonderful already in his natural expansion here to the left. And at this point, I'm not sure what he's waiting for. He has plenty of mobile missile launchers with air cover. He can position himself very nicely here and start bombarding these outer structures. And Jaywix just does not have enough time to set up a defensive perimeter here, as there is a scout from Vanady. Is going to confirm that there is nothing too crazy coming out on the back end from Jaywix here. And there is now 6 factories for Vanady, with that one initial air factory which is resumed production of air long ago. And we see that Vanady is not really, neither player is going, oh no, shields for Jaywix. That's going to give him a little bit of a health boost, but again, there's just too many Harvogs, and he is outclassed in the training department. And of course, that bombing run, which is going to happen again, going straight for the center here. With each bombing run, at least 3 or 4 tanks and or Harvogs fall. And I don't know why he's making mobile missile launchers still. Those are certainly not contributing to the fight. Vanady feels very comfortable to engage here and just completely demolishes Jaywix's land forces. Jaywix recognizes this and of course Control Ks. Very well played nevertheless from Jaywix, and Vanady did a very wonderful job protecting that initial aggression. And Jaywix had a solidly put together build. Unfortunately, he came up short. You really have to make it work, especially when you're going Harvogs like that and you're committing so much mass of your initial mass to 3 factories. You really have to cause some damage. And in this map, it's really difficult to do so because you're basically pushing on top of the hill. And it's very hard to do anything in a choke point like this. And Vanady did a nice job recognizing that there was a push coming and not expanding, even attempting to expand here. Jaywix could have taken this outer mass extractor here and just set up a perimeter here until he could have broken it down. I feel like he was trying to do that, but unfortunately at that point it was a little too late. So great game. Let's see if Jaywix can pull it out in game 2. Let's go ahead and go to that right now. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our match between Vanady and Jaywix. The second map will be Seraphim Isles, the 2v2 version of the map, of course. And we see, unfortunately, this map is not getting picked as much as I was hoping. I think this map does have potential, as I mentioned numerous times before. I think it forces players to really come up with some new things, and I've seen interesting games here so far. So it's only picked about 16% of the time and banned 25% of the time. So largely left alone this map is. And very even between UAF and Cybern for pick stats and 55% for Aeon. I think people are trying to use the same principles as maybe Treallach Island, but this map is a little bit bigger and a little less straightforward in terms of getting to your opponent's base. And of course that water is kind of awkwardly positioned where it doesn't really give you the advantage. So that's what I like about this map, and that's what you can actually see from these win statistics. You know, there hasn't been too many games, but it's fairly even. Cybern is ahead 80% of the time winning on this map, which is crazy, most of them coming against Aeon. So again, I think it will be very interesting. This map might be included in the map pool of the upcoming tournament, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, but I'll talk about that in a second as soon as we jump into the game, which we're going to do now, I guess. So let's go ahead and play. We are at 5 seconds. I'm going to put a speed 3 because this is a little bigger map. And let's go ahead and press play in 3, 2, 1, play. Let's introduce our players really quickly. Return of our teal commander on the right hand side. We have AA Vanady starting out with 1 air station and ecoing a lot, just like he has the first map. pretty similar build. Actually, nope. We already see the first deviation, the second air factory, which is definitely a smart idea. And his opponent on the left-hand side mirroring his build. For the most part, we have OSS Jaywix, who is our orange Aeon commander, going to be building some Weedabos. I was about to call them wasps. And yeah, so pretty similar builds from our players. Of course, Vanady is going to get his scout out first and gonna get it picked off. Jaywix is gonna go around, which is a very smart idea here. Vanady is flying his planes in the other direction. But yeah, as I was saying, there are many tournaments happening in July. So if you're watching this right now, I think this is your opportune moment in the future to grab some Supreme Commander 2 replays from my server, of course, my channel, but in general, you know, people are preparing these games, so there's going to be a lot of people playing because there's a tournament this weekend. So if you're watching this today or tomorrow after the release of this video, you know, there will be a lot of games streamed on my Twitch channel, so I urge you to check that out. There's going to be the semifinals of the league playoffs, which are crazy. We have Vanady versus Vanady versus Moggenraw. Some history there between those two players, and Soul Ripper versus Foxtermelon. That's going to be an even crazier game. This is just going to be crazy weekend. There's also the Gamer Replays tournament happening on Saturday, so check that out, or the replays. All of it is going to be on my channel. So, you know, there's no shortage of Supreme Commander. In the past months, I've been really surprised as how many people are playing this game. As we see, there's going to be an air engagement here pretty soon. Oh, nice bait attempt by Vanady. Trying to fly that plane forward, seeing if Jaywix takes the bait. And we see that Vanady is doing a really good job expanding. And he's still managing to produce the same amount of air. Oh, this is not going to be a good thing for Jaywix here as his planes get caught out of position. But Vanady, for his luck, does not realize this. Jaywix does a nice job taking out this engineer and shutting down that expansion over there. But Vanady is going to most likely do the same here with Jaywix's engineer, just trying to make its way down. And unfortunately, that's not going to work out. Not sure Jaywix should be looking for an engagement here. It looks like he is outnumbered somehow, which is crazy because I think his commander has been assisting this whole time. There's a nice engagement here. And it looks like Vanady is, and wow, it's pretty equal, but it looks like Jaywix manages to come out just on top here, and Jaywix takes the lead. However, there is a third air factory already made for Vanady, but there is a third air factory for Jaywix as well. But unfortunately, Jaywix is just a little bit behind on his expansion, I feel like. Yeah, there's 2 additional mass extractors over here on the bottom. Oh, you should not be going for a snipe attempt here, Jaywix. There we go. Nice. Okay. Should be going for mass extractors at this point. You do not have enough air. And seeing that your opponent... Okay, that was an overkill on the radar. And that is the quickest way to give your opponent a way back into this game. Nice shields on his planes that are going to help him be a little bit more survivable. Of course, the longer this game goes, the better Aeon's air becomes. So this is looking very bad for Vanady. Looks like Jaywix is going to be trying to scout here, and you should not be splitting. Oh boy. But again, Vanady, to his luck, does not realize that these planes are so out of position here. And these planes also, these are not enough to snipe anything, so I'm not quite sure what Jaywix hopes to do with them. Bombing an air factory of all things, and this is going to let Vanady catch up here. And I think Jaywix underestimated the ability of his opponent to make a comeback here. There's way too much air, and Jaywix is going to engage with his secondary force, which is of course not going to be enough. But Vanady decides to back off toward excuse me, goodness, that came out of nowhere, towards his anti-air, which forces the 2 players to reset their positions. 4 air factories already out for Vanady. 4th one coming out for Jaywix. He seems to be just a little bit behind on his expansion, as the trend of this game has been. And at this point, he should really not be out on the map, let alone be bombing like this right in front of his opponent's air forces. He doesn't even have a radar. So this is what I mean about positioning your air and being aware. Scouting becomes, or sorry, radar vision becomes so important as an air player against another air player, because you have to keep tabs of where your opponent's air is at all times, and you definitely do not want to be bombing on the outskirts of your opponent's base like that. You really want to play a positional war. And unfortunately for Jaywix, this game has very much turned around. I'm gonna try and reclaim, but man, that air is on top of it. Again, another engagement, manages to take out that engineer, but unfortunately that gives Vanady a crazy engagement of his dreams, basically, and Vanady's planes are going to make quick work of Jaywix's air here. And at this point, there's probably around 20 to 25 planes for Vanady here, maybe like 10 max for Jaywix, and that's a huge advantage on top of the mass extractors that have been out on the field for such a long time for Vanady. And now even Jaywix's core mass extractors are going to begin to be taken out, and there's another engagement on air, but this is really, really hopeless. There is no air micro from Jaywix at all. Those planes going on their merry way, trying to target down their targets, or hunt down their targets rather than changing those priority targets to the closest one. But actually, Vanady doesn't come super on top here. Jaywix still is managing to produce a fair amount of air off of those. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 factories. And Vanady also has those 7. It looks like he took a break to build those 3 research stations, which is just incredible for him. And then, of course, now he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his own air factories. And he's managing to bombard on top of this, and this is just turned upside down on our player from the left. The orange Aeon Commander, not even reclaiming the mass here. But at this point, it is fairly dire, even with those shields and even with those flares. Against that many Cybran planes, that is going to be very, very hard to overcome. But hey, Vanady did it, so let's see. However, he did it off of better economy and more air factories for the majority of this game. And I talk about how important engagements are and how important getting the right or moving your air forces around is. Sorry for the notifications, by the way. Forgot to turn those off. Talked about how important that is to move your air around, but I think Jaywix did it a little too much. Remember, there's always a finite balance for everything that you do. You know, P shields are great, movement is great, but if you're moving your, I've seen this with Cybran players who go crazy amount of bots, just making way too many bots and moving them way too much around, and of course they get picked off one by one. Jaywix does end up going down in game 2, and Vanady takes game 2. So let's jump to our league table here. And we see just an absolutely incredible conclusion to this league. You're going to see the screen flash here and probably freeze first. So, absolutely incredible run from the Russian. The one with the foxes, the one and only Foxtermelon, who maintains his incredible win ratio in this tournament, from the Serpents Open Winter Tournament. I am just so excited to see him play in the upcoming tournaments. It's just insane. Very, very well done. Only dropping a single map across 10 matches played, winning 9 out of those 10. Simply incredible. 29 points. Deserved that first spot full-heartedly. On his back heels, of course, is Magenra, who is another great player. Unfortunately, he had a very poor start to the season, so that's why he's a little lower. But hey, you can't win everything, right? Second spot for him, tied with Vanady, but of course he overtakes him on those matches played. which is a very important part of the league, is actually playing your matches. Soul Ripper, honestly, a surprising top 4 finish. And from here on out, it's really, really close. It was so crazy to see how this league would turn out, and it remained close for the longest time. Even Soul Ripper, he came back from I think 8th or 7th spot up to 4th. That's insane. Followed by Hope with 17. Rainbows, who dropped unfortunately out of that top 4. I was really had high hopes for her this season, but fortunately takes that 6th spot. I think she took 6th last season as well. And then Blue Train, kind of surprising. Fortuna, kind of surprising too. Fortuna is a great player. It's very surprising to see him barely managing to escape that 9th spot. So that bottom 4, of course, each 4 is subdivided by the amount of victory points they're getting for, or sorry, qualification points they're getting for the Serpents Invitation that's happening at the end of the year. Remember, all of these events are for that one purpose. And we see, you know, again, everything so super close. And I told these players, it's like, guys, this was full of just incredible players, so don't even feel bad that you guys didn't do as good. JP Smith had great games. Valor, Bolt, I don't know how Bolt has 1 point, honestly. I watched some of his games and he was playing pretty good. So it's all one mistake, it's all 1 point, it's all, you know, it's so close in these leagues because you have 2 maps you're playing and you get 3 points for winning, 1 point for tying, and nothing for losing. So it's such a brutal format in that regard, but it's always interesting to watch these games. I don't think there has been a terrible game across all of these replays that I've seen throughout the last 8 weeks. Or sorry, 11 weeks. So yeah, it's been quite some time. All right, well, that is time to end this replay. I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and there should be quite a bit of videos coming from me in the near future. July is going to be absolutely insane. We got, of course, that Gamer Replays tournament coming up tomorrow, or in 2 days rather, and then of course the Serpents Open Summer. We already have 19 players signed up for that. That is going to be crazy if all those players actually show up, which I'm hoping they will, which they probably will. And if we can get to 32, that's just gonna like blow my head off. Of course, there's $5 prize support per player that participates in that tournament, so it's gonna be very, very interesting to see who comes on top. Currently, all the top 4, I believe, are signed up for that tournament. So Magenraw, Foxtermelon, Hope, and Alpha Hex, all of them are going to be playing. That is going to be such an insane tournament. Do you remember the last time we've had all 4 of those players in a tournament? I don't think I have. Not in the past year that I've been back to this game. I have never seen all 4 of them in the single tournament. So that is going to be absolutely bonkers. Another interesting thing is Iron Commander. You've seen my Legends of Old video. He actually decided to come back. He's going to play in the Game Replays tournament and in that SCS tournament. So, you know, great time for Supreme Commander. I mean, at the end of July, I'm going to be sick and tired of this, but then we're going to have to start League 3, which is going to be even crazier. But that's honestly, you know, now even thinking about it more now, that's just absolutely incredible, and I could not have hoped for a better outcome from this series, and I just can't wait to see who actually makes it to the invitation at the end of the year. Anyway, I feel like I've been rambling. I want to thank you one last time for watching, especially those that have been watching since pretty much season 1. There's been so many replays, so many games, and also the players. If you're watching and you've been a player, just from the bottom of my heart, and all of the Supreme Commander 2 community, without you guys this wouldn't be possible, and I urge you to sign up for more events because that's how you get better. All these players, I believe, have gotten better in the course of all of this. So I'm gonna end it here, everybody. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'm really trying to get to that 100 subscribers, and I will see you in a video very, very, very shortly.